so we've got the Breville Oracle here. I've had some issues with pouring coffee. There was just no pressure or water coming out every now and again, and there'd be a gurgling sound as well. So I figured, I've looked at everything that I think and come to the conclusion that I think it's the pump. I've got a new one here, just bought it off the internet, and a new overpressure valve which sits on top of the pump, and you'll see a bit more of that as we go through it. So I figured if it's not pumping water, start at the pump. It's, you know, they're about $65 I think, the pump and the overpressure valve, so it's not a bad place to start. And yeah, so just going to try that. What I've done is I've actually emptied out the tanks, because I figured if I do need to tilt the machine, probably best not to have any water in there. The way you do that, just follow the descale instructions, I guess. There's a screw in there. Just get a flathead screwdriver, small one in there, unscrew that with the tray in, of course, and you'll see water run out. And then repeat. Once that's done, tighten that up, empty the water tray, put it back in, and empty the other tank out. So that's your steam boiler tank, and I believe that's your coffee boiler tank. So just emptied that out, and I'm now ready to pull the machine apart and get to the pump at the back, and I'll just show you how we do that. So there's a couple of screws at the front on the Oracle, so don't know if you can see that, but that's the lights. I don't do it, but there's a hole here with a screw in it, and likewise on the other side, just where that bend is, I guess. So where the machine curves up, you've got to remove a couple of screws there, and then along the back, I'll just show you what they look like. A couple of Torx screws up the top, and then there's a couple of Phillips head screws where the water tank goes. We'll remove those, and then basically lift the lid off, remove the panel. This one here's a little bit harder to remove. We need to sort of pull it out, it's clipped in, and then and we'll go from there. Okay, so I've taken the screws out. That sort of just pops out from the machine. I've just put it off to the side here, out of the way. And now there's another couple of screws. I'll remove this plate, and then we'll have a look. So it looks like we've got one of the main boards in front of the pump. So I'm going to have to remove these 4 screws. There's one right under that earth wire there, and another one there. I'm going to have to pull this aside. Let's see if we can see what's behind there. Okay, so that's the board. The pump's actually here, and it's difficult to see, but there's, if I can just point them out, there's a screw for the top part. Let me just get to it where the screwdriver's pointing. Right, there's a screw on that side. Don't know if you can't really get, yep, right there. A screw on this side that needs to come off. It's going to be a bit tricky getting it out. I think it needs to come out from the top, but I'm just going to have to feel my way. So I'm going to have to lift this off. Just be very careful there. Don't want to damage anything. Okay, so yeah, it looks like I'm going to have to pull it up. That's the overpressure valve there. Just going to have to pull that out. Undo that hose. There's a hose on so undo those 2 screws. So one there, and my finger's in the way. So one there and one there. Right, I'll just put the top back on. Okay, and the bottom ones, there's a bottom hose. You can see that right there, that needs to come off. So I'm gonna have to cut the zip ties, pull that off, pull the top hose off. Just basically got to remove that clip very carefully, and then I'll pull the hose out, and there's a little O-ring in there that you've got to be careful that you don't lose. And then I'll start unscrewing it. I just want to show you something. There is a temperature sensor on the pump right here. And if you noticed, it's got like a thermal, I guess, plaster on it just to keep it glued in. So I've got some thermal plaster. I'm going to have to figure out how I'm going to get that in. Just take note, we've got an active wire and a neutral wire. So the red on the left and the neutral wire, the white one that's plugged, goes into the pump on the right. So I'm going to have to do a bit of work and try and get this out. In order to get, just before I forget, in order to get to those top screws, there are some pilot holes here for your screwdriver to go in. So this one can go into the side, but behind these wires, there's a little hole and you can fit your screwdriver into there to loosen off that pump. So just a little. Okay, so I've managed to get the pump out. I undid everything that I said. The only thing that you've got to be mindful of, that little rubber down there, just pointing at it right now, there's a little rubber thing where the pump sits in. So the bottom part of the pump sits in that rubber thing. All you have to do is, before you pull it out, is just pull that away. Because it's, you know, you might have all the screws out and everything, but it's sort of just a bit hard to pull up. You just pull that rubber thing away from you know, the bottom of the tube here, and it'll be right. The other thing to note that I always try and do is just take note of the clocking of the valve. So it's sort of coming out at about a 2 o'clock position, sort of depending on your perspective. So it's kind of the top part of the pump is kind of aligned with that corner. So that's where you roughly need to set up the new overpressure valve so that everything else lines up, all your hoses and everything fit. So now what I have to do is just take this rubber thing off. I'm going to have to undo the pump for that. So this top bit just unscrews. So I'll unscrew that top bit, pull this rubber on, mount the new OPV valve, and put it all back together like this and slip it back in and get ready to wire it up. Just one thing that I did see on a video, when you pull this apart, on the new one, I hope you can see through the plastic there, there's a little rubber O-ring on the thread. So the bit that threads in, you know, to the pump. Not all of them, not all of the overpressure valves have that. If you don't put that on, that little O-ring right there on the base of the thread, you'll get leaks. Okay. So what you get with the kit with the overpressure valve, you get your valve, the collar, and this red O-ring. This little red O-ring actually goes right there. That's the tube that it was connected to. So yeah, so that's it. I'll just reassemble the new pump and mount it back in. So I've put water in it, got it up to temperature. Let's have a look. Oh wow, that is pretty good. We weren't getting that before, I can tell you that. There's nothing coming out. Yeah, no, that's looking pretty good. And now check that there's no water leaking. That all looks very dry. And nothing there as well. Nothing there. Looking very dry in there, I think. Yeah, it's all looking very dry. So I will now reassemble it and give it a decent whirl. I think for $65 we've fixed the problem. The machine's warmed up. Just got the single shot basket in there. Let's give it a crack. warm honey. Our machine is back.